Bonjour. So, for this week, we are going to start learning and reviewing because we saw the Passé Composé last year in level two, but we didn't see it that much because I knew that we are going to talk about it more this year because most of the time this year we are going to see the Passé Composé with the verb avoir and then the Passé Composé with the verb être. So, basically, le passé composé, as you see, is like composed past, and it is the opposite of the present tense. It means that we use the passé composé to talk about something that happened in the past, and we have two type of the passé composé. As you see here, it is part one, and we are going to see the simple past with the verb avoir, which is the verb to have. Want you to write down these words and remember the pronunciation. So the first one is going to be because we are going to use these words to be able to talk about things that happened in the past. First one is yesterday. Yesterday is hier, so the H is silent. Hier, hier, yesterday. Last night, hier soir. Hier soir. Last weekend, le week-end dernier. Le week-end dernier. And last summer, l'été dernier. L'été dernier. So please write them down and you can repeat after me and to practice the pronunciation. So I want you first to observe. I'm going to stop here and then I will show you the second example. So when it comes to example numéro un, first example, we have Katie Taylor gagne, which is this is like the first sentence or the first example. It is in present tense. It means that she is winning or she wins. Okay. And then when we want to move it to the passé composé, this is what I wrote. I wrote Katie Taylor a gagné. And you can tell that I added the verb avoir, which is a means has, and then gagner, I did remove because you know that gagner in the past it ends with an er, and in present tense for she we remove the er and we put an e. So what we did, we changed that e for she to an e with an accent. So, and the good thing about the passé composé, which is it's way easier when you get how to do it, it is way easier than the present tense because gagner is going to be the same for I, for you, for he, for she, for all of them. They all gonna end with an e with an accent. You are just going to write the verb avoir in present tense. So if I want to say I won, I will be saying j'ai, which is the AI. J'ai gagné. So the ending is going to be the same. You won is going to be tu as, which is the AS. Tu as gagné. So yeah, which is that's what I liked about the passé composé. It's easier than present tense. And then here we go. I'm going to show you the second example, which is let's just say il joue, which is he plays or he is playing, and that's present tense. Then now when I want to switch it to the past and I want to say he played, again for he and the verb avoir, which is he has, so it's going to be and then it's going to be jouer. The jouer, this one I am going to change it. It has to have an accent. That is very important because if I keep it without the accent, it is going to be wrong. I'm just going to copy this accent here and I'm going to put it here because sometimes the computer autocorrect the words for me. So it's going to be a jouer, and then the other one is going to be a gagné. Oh, here you go. It works. So, so here you go. The summary of this when it comes to the verbs ending with er in the passé composé, what we do is that first you're going to have to think about the subject, which is the person who's doing the action, and then which is going to be like here we have Katie, but the next one is going to be it's Cathy in French. Why am I saying it? And then the second one is going to be you have to put the verb avoir in present tense. And then when you see the verbs add with an er, you are going to remove that er and replace it with an e with the accents on the top. And all the pronouns, they will have an e with the accents. What we call the verb avoir here, we call it auxiliaire, which is helping verb. We call it auxiliaire avoir. It means here is just helping the verb to tell us that it is in the past. So auxiliaire or helping verb. And then what we call the verb, the second verb that we have in the sentence, we call it a past participle, which is the participe passé. Okay, so we have helping verb is, and here is the verb avoir, and then we have the past participle of the verb jouer, which is the jouer with the accent. And this is how we do the, or how we change the verb in the passé composé when the verb ends with an er. And here's the conclusion, which is basically as what I summarized for you. And to change the verb in ending with er, to change it from present tense or the infinitive form to the passé composé, what you need the helping verb or the auxiliaire avoir in the present tense. And then the second one is going to be the ending of the help, not the helping verb, but the past participle of the verb that you are going to use, or the one that I will pick for you if I am asking you to conjugate a verb, for example, in the Passé composé. So er, we will replace the er with an e with an accent, and then before that verb, we will have to have the first verb or the helping verb, which is the verb avoir. So here we go. We're going to go to the second one, which is when the verbs end with an ir. So we know that those verbs, they also go, which is the regular ones, they also go with the verb avoir in the passé composé. I'm going to show you the examples. I have the first example is that Rob a fini. So here you go. You know that in present tense it's going to be fini with an it because c'est he. But in the passé composé, again, we are going to put the helping verb, which is avoir in present tense. And then because the verb finir ends with an ir, so what we do in the passé composé, we remove the ir and we replace it with an I. So all the pronouns for I, again, same thing, I, you, he or she or they, all of them, we will have an I at the end. The only thing that we are going to change is the form of the helping verb, which is the verb avoir in present tense. If I want to say we finished or we've finished, I am going to say nous avons fini, and fini, I will spell it the same way. So no changing to the past participle. The only change is going to be the verb avoir in present tense. Second example is we have the verb choisir. Choisir means to choose. So je choisis means I choose or I'm choosing. If I want to say I chose something, so what we will be doing, again, there's the I. The I is not showing here. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to drop the IR or IS since I have je here and replace it with an I. So it is going to be the same thing. Let's do it right now because I do not want to forget. Oh, it's here, but I don't know why I can't see it when I click on a slideshow. Hold on. Here you go. So yeah, as I said, you are going to put the je, which is I have in present tense. Use the verb avoir in present tense. Then you have to have an I at the end for the verb choisir. And this is, you apply it to all regular IR verbs. So far we saw ER verbs, you put an E with an accent. IR verbs, we put an I at the end. And then the last one is going, and here's the summary for the IR verbs. Same thing, put the verb avoir in present tense, put the second verb, which is the verb that ends with an IR, remove the IR and replace it with an I. Third one is going to be the RE verbs, which is the last verbs that we have in French. And we are doing the regular ones. Okay, so I am not showing you the irregular ones yet. So we're just doing the regular ones, which is most of the verbs. And we know that the in French are regular. It means they follow the same rule. So here you go. Now we have the verb. When it comes to the first example, we have the verb attendre. Attendre ends with an RE, which is to wait. If I say nous attendons, it means we wait or we're waiting. And if I want to change it to the passé composé, I will be saying nous avons attendu. Again, I have no idea why the U is not showing. Here you go. We will say nous avons attendu. So we are going to remove the RE and replace it with an U. Same thing, vendre. It's an RE verb. It is regular. In the passé composé, we will be saying, which is vendre means to sell. And if I want to say he sold, it will be il a vendu. Again, remove RE and replace it with a U. And the same spelling, you will be using it for all the pronouns except the avoir. You are going to change that part. And let's see the next slide. I'm gonna keep it like this because some of the you can't see some of the vocab. So here you go, the next one. This is the summary of the RE verbs. Same, put the verb avoir in present tense and then add the verb that ends with an RE. Remove the RE and replace it with a U. And as I said, all of them are regular. So here you go again. Quick recap. So we have the verb avoir. So it means you will be saying j'ai, tu as, il a, elle a, nous avons, vous avez, ils ont, or elles ont. And then you look at the ending of the verb. If it ends with an er, remove it, put an e with the accent. If the verb ends with an ir, remove it, put an I. And if the verb ends with an re, remove it and put a u. If you forget to put the verb avoir, the sentence will be wrong, or the meaning of the sentence will be wrong. If you put the verb avoir and you forget the second verb, it is going to be wrong. So keep in mind that it is passé composé, composed verb. It means, or verb tense, it means you need two verbs to be able to have a correct or a meaningful sentence. So, just a bonus question. What is the ending? What do we call that verb that ends with an e with an accent, I or a u? We call it the past participle or le participe passé. That's what we call it. And here you go. Remember that we do have different examples. I want you to write this example. Pardon. I want you to write this example, write it down in your notebook. And I picked the verb choisir and acheter for you, and then the verb attendre. When it comes to the pronunciation, I am going to read that for you. So acheter means to buy. And if I want to say I bought, I will be saying j'ai acheté. You bought, tu as acheté. He or she bought something. Elle a acheté. We bought, nous avons acheté. You bought something or you bought, vous avez acheté. Ils or elles ont acheté means they bought. So remember, again, the verb or the past participle, never change it. And we do have some exceptions. We are going to see that later. But so far, remember that you spell it the same way as the E with the accent because it ends with an ER and it is regular. The only verb that you will have to change is the verb avoir in present tense. And as I said, this is easier than the present tense. Same thing when it comes to the verb choisir, which is, it means to choose. J'ai choisi, tu as choisi, il a or elle a choisi, nous avons choisi, vous avez choisi, ils or elles ont choisi. I chose, you chose, he or she chose, so same thing. Last verb is the verb that ends with an re, and attendre means to wait. So if I want to say I waited, j'ai attendu. Tu as attendu. Il a or elle a attendu. Nous avons attendu. Vous avez attendu. Elles or elles ont attendu. So we already learned these verbs before. We already learned the avoir before. You should be able to know how to pronounce it. Maybe just the ending is different. That's why I'm showing you it's going to be an U at the end. Attendu. So remember that, as I said, there are irregular verbs that they go with avoir, and these verbs are the verb avoir. If you want to say I had, uh, let's say a computer, I will be using, even though I'm gonna be using I, then avoir in present tense, and then avoir the past participle. So when it comes to avoir as past participle, I will be saying j'ai eu. And when it comes to faire, which is to do, so if I want to say I did something, j'ai fait. Il a fait. Nous avons fait. I'm going to be using we when it comes to these verbs. Écrire means to write. And if I want to say we wrote, nous avons écrit. And again, with avoir, we had, nous avons eu. Dire means to say, nous avons dit. Boire means to drink, nous avons bu. Pouvoir means to be able to, and we saw that one in the previous modules. Nous avons pu. Lire means to read, nous avons lu. Voir means to see, nous avons vu. Connaître means to know, nous avons connu. Savoir means to connaître means to know, and savoir means to know. We do have two different ways of saying to know in French. Nous avons su. And offrir means to offer. Nous avons offert. Être means to be. Nous avons été. Mettre means to put. Nous avons mis. Prendre means to take. Nous avons pris. Vouloir means to want something or just to want. Nous avons voulu. So these are examples of the most used irregular French verbs in the passé composé. This is the past participle, and all of these verbs, they go with the verb avoir in French. And pleuvoir, which is to rain, is going to be nous avons plu. If we don't use it, but it's going to be il a plu, which is it was raining. So here you go. That's it. When it comes to the passé composé